और बहनों, मुझे दुख है और सुख भी है कहते हुए कि कल क्लास में मैं नहीं कर सकूंगा।
Namaste. A question arises, what kind of development model Mahatma Gandhi has? It could be seen that man was the center of all what Gandhi visualized, thought and did. A development model at which man is the center. As could be seen in this diagrammatic representation, everything depends on man and it is ever widening circles. And probably it would be of interest here to just see what exactly Gandhiji himself said about the kind of model that he had in his mind. To quote him, in this structure composed of innumerable villages, there will be ever widening, ever extending circles. Life will not be a pyramid with the apex sustained by the bottom, but it will be an oceanic circle whose center will be the individual, always ready to perish for the circle of the villages, till at last the whole becomes one life composed of individuals, never aggressive in their arrogance, but ever humble, sharing the majesty of the oceanic circle of which they are integral units. The kind of programs Gandhiji visualized, the kind of societal change Gandhiji wanted to take place in this country had this truth at the bottom. And when we take a look at the different kinds of programs which are now known as the constructive programs, Gandhiji himself called it the constructive programs because it was really something that which he believed would usher in a new era of hope.
Gandhiji introduced the constructive program in 1941 and later revised in 1945. In 1947, on the eve of Indian independence, Gandhiji spoke, "No doubt the transfer of power will remove many obstacles, but we shall have to do solid work among the people. Since you look upon me as an advisor and seek my advice on your own free will, I have only one advice to give. If you wish to establish socialism, there is only one way in which it can be done. Go and live among the poor in the villages. Live as they live. Be one with the village people. Work for 8 hours daily. Use only village-made goods and articles even in your own personal lives. Remove illiteracy amongst the village people. Eradicate untouchability and uplift the women." This is the essence of the 18-point constructive program, which simply focused upon constructive ways of rebuilding a new society, eradicating a vast variety of social evils. Imagine, Gandhi says, all the 40 crore of people busying themselves with the whole of the constructive program, which is designed to build up the nation from the very bottom upward. Let us have a look at these 18 programs. कम्युनल यूनिटी यानी कौमी एकता, रिमूवल ऑफ अनटचेबिलिटी यानी कि अस्पृश्यता निवारण, प्रोहिबिशन यानी कि नशाबंदी, खादी एंड चरखा अर्थात खादी और चरखे का विकास, अदर विलेज इंडस्ट्रीज यानी कि अन्य ग्राम उद्योग, विलेज सैनिटेशन अर्थात ग्राम स्वच्छता, न्यू और बेसिक एजुकेशन अर्थात नई या बुनियादी तालीम, अडल्ट एजुकेशन अर्थात प्रौढ़ शिक्षा, इमेंसिपेशन ऑफ वुमेन अर्थात नारी उन्नति, एजुकेशन इन हेल्थ एंड हाइजीन अर्थात आरोग्य नियमों की शिक्षा, प्रोविंशियल लैंग्वेजेस यानी कि प्रांतीय भाषाएं, नेशनल लैंग्वेज अर्थात राष्ट्रभाषा, इकोनॉमिक इक्वालिटी यानी कि आर्थिक समानता, किसान्स अर्थात किसानों की उन्नति, लेबर यानी कि मजदूर संगठन, आदिवासीज अर्थात आदिवासियों का उद्धार, लेपर्स अर्थात कुष्ठ रोग निवारण, एंड स्टूडेंट्स यानी कि विद्यार्थियों से निवेदन। Gandhi ji believed that the revolution has to be from the bottom up if it is to be non-violent, successful and permanent. Constructive program may more fittingly be called construction of Purna Swaraj or complete independence by truthful and non-violent means.
गांधी जी का रचनात्मक काम और विध्वंस का काम भी साथ साथ चलता था। क्रांति में हमेशा ऐसा होता है, कई देशों की क्रांतियों का इतिहास अगर आप देखें तो वहां क्रांति हुई तो पहले वो विध्वंस कर देते हैं, ये मिटा के तब फिर नए सिरे से शुरू करो। गांधी जी की क्रांति की, अहिंसात्मक क्रांति की खूबी ये थी कि वो विध्वंस और निर्माण दोनों काम साथ करते थे। सरकारी स्कूलों में पढ़ना छोड़ दो, राष्ट्रीय स्कूल कायम करो, उसमें पढ़ लो, बच्चों को पढ़ाओ। विदेशी कपड़ों का बहिष्कार करो, खादी बनाओ और उसको पहनो। विदेशी वस्तुओं का परित्याग करो, विदेशी वस्तुएं बनाओ, उनका उपयोग करो। तो हमेशा वो एक चीज तोड़ना और एक जोड़ना, बनाना, उनकी क्रांति इस तरह से चलती थी, निर्माणात्मक क्रांति चलती थी उनकी।
For the reconstruction of India, Gandhiji considered political power, like all power, as a means and not an end in itself. The political representatives will become unnecessary if the national life becomes so perfect as to be self-controlled. Through constructive programs, he aimed at encouraging social democracy and self-reliance, mainly dependent upon character than capital.
कंस्ट्रक्टिव प्रोग्राम दूसरों के लिए नहीं है कि तुम करो। देखिए, सोशलिज्म ये है कि गवर्नमेंट शुड टेक ओवर मीन्स द प्रोटेक्शन। ये हो गई सोशलिज्म, हो गई। कोई कहेगा कि वो हमने एक पॉलिटिकल पार्टी कहती है वो करो, वो अचीव करना है। नहीं, वो कहते खुद क्या कर रहे हो तुम। कंस्ट्रक्टिव प्रोग्राम ये है, अगर खादी है तो आप स्पिन करते हो, हिंदू मुस्लिम यूनिटी है तो आपके आसपास जो दूसरे संप्रदाय के लोग रहते हैं आप उनसे प्रेम करते हो। अस्पृश्यता आपने कोई दिखी आसपास अगर है तो छुआछूत उसको दूर करो, खुद अपने मन से पैसे निकालो। तो हर एक चीज में ये जो है अपने से शुरू करने का भी है उनका। तो कंस्ट्रक्टिव, अब वो जो सत्याग्रह है वो तो कभी कभी हो सकता था 10 साल में एक दफा। तो ये चीजें जो रोज की थी, ये प्रोग्राम उनका रोज का प्रोग्राम था। तो इसकी जो महत्व अगर समझा जाता उस समय में, समझा गया कुछ हद तक, नहीं तो भारत को स्वतंत्रता ना मिलती, लेकिन जितना वो चाहते थे उतना समझा नहीं गया। और मैं समझता हूं उनके जाने के बाद तो वो जो प्रोग्राम है उसकी प्रसंगता कम नहीं हुई, उसकी रेलेवेंस गई नहीं है। उसमें भी बड़ी एक साइंटिफिक उनका था दृष्टिकोण था गांधी जी का हर एक चीज पर। तो ये जो कंस्ट्रक्टिव प्रोग्राम है ये कोई फिक्स्ड आइटम नहीं है। तो शिक्षा जो थी वो 1937 में थी वही रहेगी। तो हर एक चीज को चाहते थे कि जो आदमी करता है वो जो कीती है उसको सोच के समझ के और साइंटिफिक तरीके से करें।
Gandhiji advised political workers to immerse themselves in the constructive program, to engage in bread labor, and to sacrifice their comforts wholeheartedly in the service of Daridra Narayan, God in the form of the poor. He spoke of socialism of the heart and the soul.
Constructive program is a development program integrated with the aspirations of the people. And one item which is very important in the 18-point program is the 13th item which deals with economic equality. So Gandhiji was very much concerned that whatever programs are implemented ultimately goes to the poor, and the big gap between the rich and the poor is reduced. Gandhiji insisted on the youth's involvement in the development program. Perhaps you may not be aware that G. Ramchandran, when he had the first opportunity to get associated with Gandhiji, was sent from Santiniketan by the great Gurudev.
Gandhiji believed that it is the youth who could bring about drastic changes in the society. He said, it is from these young men and women that the future leaders of the nation are to rise. Unfortunately, they are acted upon by a variety of influences. I have always cultivated close contact with them. Now let us meet one amongst them, who himself is a constructive activist with utmost conviction.
महात्मा गांधी जब दक्षिण अफ्रीका से भारत आए तो उन्होंने 1 साल सारे देश घूमा, किसी राजनीतिक सभा में हिस्सा नहीं लिया, लेकिन साल भर वो देश की स्थिति का अध्ययन करते रहे। तो उन्होंने देखा कि यहाँ पर राजनीतिक गुलामी तो है ही, आर्थिक, सामाजिक और धार्मिक दृष्टि से भी लोग बड़े पराधीन से महसूस करते हैं, उनमें अपनी कोई उत्साह नहीं है, कोई प्रेरणा नहीं है। तब उन्होंने रचनात्मक कार्यक्रम का श्री गणेश किया। शुरू में इसमें 4 आइटम थे: हिंदू मुस्लिम एकता, खादी, छुआछूत दूर करना और स्वराज की लड़ाई। फिर धीरे धीरे उन्होंने इसमें और प्रोग्राम शामिल किए। सन 41 की बात है, मैं इलाहाबाद के देहात में एक सभा के लिए गया। तो मैं बोल रहा था, बोलते बोलते एक तगड़ा आदमी मेरे पास आया और मेरा कंधा पकड़कर वो मुझे खंबे के पास ले गया। बोले, तू कुछ पढ़ा लिखा है? मैंने कहा, मैं यूनिवर्सिटी से मैंने MSc पास किया है। तो बोले, तो उसने उस आदमी ने क्या किया, मेरा सर उसने खंबे से मारा। तो बोले, अब मैं सर तेरा खंबे से टकराऊं तो ये खंबा टूटेगा, तेरा सिर फूटेगा। मैंने कहा, बाबा एक बात बता। बोले, तुम लोग लत्ता लेकर, छोटा सा कपड़ा लेकर अंग्रेजी राज के खिलाफ लड़ने चले हो। अंग्रेज का राज अमिट है, कभी नहीं हट सकता, कभी नहीं खत्म हो सकता, कभी नहीं टूट सकता। मैंने कहा, अच्छा एक बात बताइए, आपने गंगा देखी है? बोले, क्या हुआ, गंगा तुम्हारे गांव में बहती है। तो मैंने कहा, अगर गंगा तेज बह रही है और सामने पत्थर की चट्टान आ जाए तो पत्थर टूटेगा या गंगा का पानी टूटेगा? तो आदमी दंग रह गया और लोगों ने सबने ताली पीटी। और आपको खुशी होगी, 6 साल बाद जब देश आज़ाद हुआ तो वो आदमी इलाहाबाद के देहात से मेरे घर आया, मुझे चिपटा लिया और बोला, बच्चा, तूने जिस दिन बात कही थी कि इस सत्याग्रह की गंगा के आगे, रचनात्मक काम की धारा के आगे कोई भी ताकत हो, कोई भी चट्टान हो, इंग्लिश, फ्रेंच, जर्मन, कोई भी मुकाबला नहीं कर सकती है, चूर चूर हो जाएगी। तो आज मैं देख रहा हूँ कि देश आज़ाद हो गए। तो उसने मुझे गले लगा लिया और कहा, हम लोग गांधी जी को समझे नहीं, तुम लोगों ने समझ लिया, तुम लोगों ने कुछ उसके लिए कोशिश की और इसीलिए हम देश आज़ाद हुआ है और आज हम सब स्वतंत्रता की सांस ले रहे हैं।
Gandhiji tried to awaken the potential for growth in oneself. His demanding conception of Swadharma, his self-chosen obligations, thrust him into the wider forums of the constructive program and nationwide rural reconstruction.
He indicated in the way that it's not only political power, social and economic revolution has to come for the change of the entire setup in the country, the society, and that revolution which he contemplated was based on the constructive program. The constructive program, 18-point constructive program, have several aspects which is meant both for individual and society. He attached more importance to individual because the individual is changed, his heart is changed, his mind is changed, then society would also change thereby. Not only that economic development would be forthcoming, but whether moral life would be imbued by the people themselves.
Gandhiji said, by economic progress we mean material advancement without limit, and by real progress we mean moral progress, which again is the same thing as progress of the permanent element in us. If therefore material progress does not clash with moral progress, it will necessarily advance the latter, and hence he insisted on the need for discipline.
There is a certain discipline which the whole nation has to observe, and it was necessary that India should be a strong, a united nation. So he wanted to build up the strength of the country as well as build up the unity of the country. Now it was not an easy task either to build up the non-violent strength of the country or to build up the unity of the country. And yet he achieved a considerable amount of unity and a considerable amount of strength, because all these items of the constructive program were meant to make the country strong and make the country united. Now we have our villages. Our villages are suffering from insanitation of many kinds. People were also not aware of the laws of health and hygiene. They even didn't know how to perform elementary things. So through this he wanted to awaken the people. Through constructive program he wanted to awaken the people, and this was so awakening of the people on a massive scale. That was the main purpose of Gandhiji. In fact, a few more items also could have been added to it, but even this 18-point constructive program covers most of the problems India is facing today.
Gandhiji was thorough with the problems of Indian society, and he found solutions through his constructive programs. People with socialistic ideals were fervently attached to Gandhiji's political, social and economic aspirations. But some of his policies were not understood by them properly. He was a deeply committed socialist, and his concept of Swaraj was entirely different.
Swaraj literally means self-rule, and Gandhiji said to us, Swaraj is like a square. It has four sides. One side is political freedom, of course. Political freedom is basic. But he said there are three other sides to Swaraj: economic freedom, social freedom, and above all, moral and spiritual freedom. unless this fourfold freedom flowers in India, Swaraj would not have arrived. And this kind of a vision he had, it was a multi-dimensional social revolutionary movement. On the one hand, we were fighting the British and alien imperialism. On the other hand, we were fighting the high-caste people who were dominating the untouchables. So the fight against untouchability was as important as the fight against the British imperialism and many other.
Sarvodaya, a total national transformation, was Gandhiji's ambition. To find happiness in giving, in sharing, and in serving others is the secret of Sarvodaya, the doctrine of non-violent socialism. The constructive workers during his period tried hard to reach the goal by selfless service.
He visioned to reconstruct India on a model which will be helpful for the whole world. And for this, he prescribed the constructive program. He thought that he will have a new society in which there will be no differences of any kind, nor also there will be force used in human relations. He wanted a society based on moral laws where human relations will be of utmost goodwill and friendship. The training which he gave for this was only for a group of selected people who did not have the limelight of the political fighters as well as leaders. They worked and got themselves trained in small ashrams, and they were preparing themselves for the post-freedom India, where they had to work on Gandhian lines.
Gandhiji transmuted the centuries-old idea of ashram as a haven for the pursuit of personal salvation. His ashrams were not merely places of spiritual seeking, but offered training in social service, rural upliftment, and in fact, the ashrams were the scientific laboratories for experiments in constructive program. The philosophy of Anasakti Yoga, selfless service, was his guide.
In the ashram, it was a life of sadhana, where everyone was expected to live according to the 11 vows: ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, asangraha, sharira shrama aswada, sarvatra bhaya varjana, sarva dharma samanatva, swadeshi sparsha bhavana, vinamra vrata nishtha se yah ekadash sevya hai. Now everyone was to do some body labor. Spinning was compulsory for everybody. Use of khadi, doing all one's own work, no sweepers, cleaning the latrines, cleaning the campus, cooking, serving, everything was to be done by the ashramites. In this fashion, there was a practical demonstration of living the constructive program.
Answering his critics, Gandhiji said, "Given an indomitable will on the part of a band of earnest workers, the constructive program is as workable as any other, and more so than most. Anyway, I have no substitute for it." The constructive program is the long-term prerequisite of a system of non-violent self-rule, without which political power or formal independence would prove to be a sham. There is no substitute for it, not until now.
The religionists believe that change the individuals and ultimately so they will bring about a change in the structures. The politicians believe change the structures and it will lead to a change in attitudes. But these structural changes do not necessarily change the selfishness of the people, which means that though we have changed structures, we have not changed attitudes. If this doesn't happen, the system cannot work. And this is what happened to communist Russia. Gandhi told us that do things in a way which brings a change in the societal structures as well as societal attitudes. When he wanted the British to be removed from India, he wanted self-reliance to be inculcated in the people, not reliance on the government. And Swaraj means self-reliance. Only doing away with the British and being reliant totally on the government will be changing the masters.
As a karma yogi, Gandhiji could yoke a microcosmic approach to social experimentation with a macrocosmic vision of universal peace, human solidarity, and a global civilization of the heart. What is needed is a purgation of the psyche, release of the spiritual will, consecrated to the good of all. In other words, in Gandhian parlance, Sarvodaya and Antyodaya.
His constructive programs were completely the efforts of the people themselves. The government had really no role in it. And it was in this way that he infused our people with the spirit of independence and the capacity to stand on their own legs. Of course, today we have completed 48 years of independence, and we have taken to modern methods of development, but still we find that the people at the grassroots have to be given power, have to be taught how they can exercise that power themselves. Without that, our elaborate edifice of democracy would not be very meaningful.
Gandhiji said, "After I am gone, no single person will be able to completely represent me, but a little bit of me will live in many of you. If each puts the cause first and himself last, the vacuum will to a large extent be filled. Let us come forward and try to fill the vacuum."